the legal situation.
Yeah,
Break it down for us, whatever you're comfortable.
yeah.
Can you do the fast forward version of what they accused you of? Because I still see a lot of people say, "Hey, wait, Kyle had a legal issue."
Yeah. So there were a bunch of charges at first, and most of them were nonsense. There was a charge that said I had a gun with a like destroyed serial number. That was a gun that had been coated, painted with like a pretty design on it, and two of the serial numbers were kind of hard to read. You literally scratch them and you could read them. But like destroying the serial number on a firearm is like a 10-year federal like mandatory sentence. So like they lump stuff like that in.
These were guns you bought brand new from a gun store normally and then had professionally painted.
Yeah.
So this wasn't like a wacky thing.
This isn't one of those deals where I like paint a gun like green and red in my backyard. This was a professional job. And they did a bad job at it. And so like they lump stuff like that in with possession of marijuana and just made it so that I really had to do a plea deal and just plead guilty to possession of marijuana with intent to distribute. And the intent to distribute thing, even the judge today was like, so was he selling marijuana? And they're like, no, absolutely not. This is, the prosecution's like, no, he wasn't. No. Was he shipping it? Nope. Was he trading it for favors or influence? Nope, not at all. Never did that. We're quite sure that women would come to his house, his girlfriend even, and smoke a joint with him occasionally. And so that was distribution. So it's not what the judge said. No.
So you're saying he was a polite person. I would go so far as to say considerate.
So like I was glad that like that was part of the hearing today, where he was like he made sure that she explained that, and she was like, yeah, no, he didn't sell it. He's not a drug dealer, but he did share it with women from time to time. And just so everyone out there knows, if you're ever in a situation where there's some marijuana, if you share a joint with someone, you just distributed marijuana. So
that's crazy.
How sentencing works, because I was very surprised to learn that your gun collection, they tried to combine it with marijuana and make.
No, that was not what she said. She's literally, it was just that like people would come to my house and they would smoke marijuana. My lawyer essentially said that. He was like, first of all, these friends were ladies. And I was just like, I'm looking, yeah. I really, and just a little sidebar here, a little core humor there for you.
Nice.
If anyone finds himself in a similar situation that I was in, and they're in the Atlanta area, hit me up, and I guess I could refer you to an attorney. I really thought that my guy did a good job for me over the last year and a half that this thing's been going on for.
Seems like so long ago. This started.
Yeah.
Sometimes it comes up and I'm like, they're still mad about that.
Yeah, they're still mad about it. Yeah, it's
that's
in some situations they do with statutes of limitation, but this isn't one of those situations at all. That doesn't apply here in any way.
So Kyle, the guns combining with pot use became a weird thing.
So there's like federal sentencing guidelines. We've all probably heard that terminology before. And it's like this sliding scale of like a point system. And it's like, oh, you did a good thing, 2 points off. Oh, you did a bad thing, 1 point on. And the things that took points off for me were, I have no criminal history whatsoever. What was another one? Kinda. And the more points you get, the more time you can do.
Are there like multipliers?
Yes. Huh. On the left, there are numbers that go from like 1 to, I don't know, 50 or something like that. And just to the right of those are how many months that's recommended that you do in prison. And so I started out at 31.
Which is 31 points?
Yeah.
I don't think people recognize how outrageous that is. That is a really, really big legal problem.
It's like 35 years in federal prison.
Jesus Christ.
Well, that's
and possession of a firearm by a drug user. It's like, wait a minute, am I getting charged 3 times for one gun? That's absolutely the situation. And what it was in my case is that it didn't make any sense to go to trial and potentially face all that craziness. The level 31 stuff it made so much more sense to just plead guilty, even though I really disagreed with the distribution charge. That seemed wrong to me. I'm not a legal scholar or anything. And then, there were a lot of inconsistencies in the whole case. The way the search warrant was obtained and some stuff like that I won't go into. But it wasn't. I could have won if I taken it to trial, but the risk was absurd.
You could have lost.
And
you
that was
also
the
could have
situation.
lost.
And
yeah,
so you were FPS Russia, which meant that you owned a lot of specialty, interesting guns, silencers, and short barrel, all licensed, all completely above board.
Yeah,
but in this context, they became like extra big problems. Can you explain?
Well, at first, that was adding on like 8 points, which is a lot. And that got brought down to adding on 2 points. Again, like points got deducted for things like I'd never had a criminal history and it's like first time offense, and the possession of marijuana under a kilogram or whatever, I under a pound, one or the other was, X amount of points, and it all came down to 6 points, from 31 down to 6 points. And the recommended sentence for that, which is what I've been saying kind of all along for like 2 years, is 0 to 6 months of prison. And the last 6 months of any federal sentence, you don't actually spend in prison. You spend it in a halfway house. So yeah, it's kind of like a dormitory that you sleep in at night with some other cool guys, I guess. And you have your, I'm sure I'll make good friends there. And you get your days to yourself.
Heard what you were saying on the podcast.
But you get your days to yourself, and you're not like locked up. They're just keeping tabs on you for a little while. And there was a maximum of, I think, maybe $9,500 they could have fined me, and it was up to 5 years of probation, which is pretty annoying. That much probation. That's a long ass time.
What does that mean?
Does probation include drug testing?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. And so we went in today, and I got there at 9 a.m. to Athens, which is like a 2-hour drive.
In Kyle's world. Yeah.
I got up at 5 a.m. I got up at 5 a.m.
I probably wouldn't have slept at all. I would have been so nervous.
I slept pretty well, honestly. I went to bed at like 9 p.m. Get out of here. Get out of here. Fuck off.
Not a funny one, Steve. Not a funny one.
No, it wasn't. Anything of the sort. It was my wholesome nature and my love of Jesus Christ that helped me sleep. I've been taking random drug tests for 2 years now. I'm clean. and so I got up at 5 a.m., got there at 9 a.m., and my lawyer's not there. And I'm like, and see, there's no way to really coordinate with the lawyer, because as a lawyer, he won't answer the phone when he drives. I understand that. He understands it's a crime to do so in this state. And he's got a long drive just like I do. And I'm not going to call him at 6 a.m. And so I can't call him on the phone. I can't take my phone into the courthouse, because I'm a defendant. One of the interesting things,
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, you can. One of the interesting things throughout my whole legal process is I've got a very nice suit that I had made, and every time I go into any courthouse, lawyers on the left, and I'm like, no, I'm not a lawyer. Really? What are you doing here? Wait a minute. Are you that? You look familiar.
Is that your hitman
internet
suit?
guy? Yeah.
That's literally what happened at the federal courthouse. Both times, the metal detector guy recognized me, and then we ended up watching videos, my videos with the metal detector guy, having a good little chat. So I get there, I get there, and I go up into the courtroom, and I'm there before they even unlock the doors. I'm ready to go here. I don't want to be late. There was an incident a few months back where they didn't notify me that today's my court day. And so I just get a phone call at like 10 a.m. and they're like, hey, you're supposed to be in court. And I'm just like, what? What do you mean? No one told me. And I had to like rush and drive 2 hours, but they were told that I wasn't notified. So it was all good. So the court opens up and I go in there, and I'm going to be the last guy on the docket for the day. So that gives plenty of time for my lawyer to get there. And he does eventually, although I'm very nervous because court has begun by the time he gets there. And today was mostly sentencing. And so there's this big chorus I'll call them, of people in orange jumpsuits and shackles over there, kind of like a, sitting in like a choir formation.
Mm-hmm. Think about how many people are in front of you, like 10, 20, 30.
I would say eight or 9 people. And so I get to watch each of their cases go. And the thing about it is, like, they go up and the prosecutor is like, they tell you what these people did. They're like, if the person pleads guilty, like the whole spiel is, they go, if we had proceeded to trial, we would have proved beyond a reasonable doubt that so-and-so did this on this day, and then this happened, and then this happened. And they really lay out what these people have done.
So the language they use to lay it out, is it half legalese, like strong arm burglary or this or that? Or is it more like, she was 78 years old, he tied her to a chair with telephone cord, like descriptive language?
They tell a story. And so
you can't get any more.
And so this Mexican guy goes up first, and my lawyer's sitting next to me at this point, and he's pleading guilty. He's pleading guilty today, so he won't be sentenced today, but he's pleading guilty. And she starts explaining what this guy did. He had driven like 150 gallons of liquid methamphetamine from Mexico to Atlanta in exchange for $12,000 in the diesel tanks of his big rig. And then he was having 2 associates separate the diesel from the methamphetamine at a residence. And they go into all this detail about like how the investigation went down. And I'm like, I'm interested now. Like this is some crazy
you're
stuff.
invested in the story.
This is Breaking Bad level. Well, I may have to go back in October.
Javier doesn't get to appear in season 2.
Season 2 happens in prison.
Javier is going to be seeing season 2, season 3, season 4, season 5, season 6. He's going to be doing 10 seasons at least. And that's what she said. She's like, this carries a minimum of 10 years and a maximum of life imprisonment. And the judge is like, you understand that, Javier? And he's like, see, they got the interpreter there. They're going back and forth. And I'm like, fuck, that's rough, man. And he's like, and just so you know, I hope your lawyer has expressed this to you. You will be deported after you serve your prison sentence. And there was this brief period of time where I think Javier and myself were like, wait, you're saying that maybe you just send me back home?
Yeah.
I was like,
can we just skip the whole prison thing and I'll go home? I'll never come back.
I'll go. I thought that might happen. And I was like, you feel bad for him, even though, he was clearly doing a bad thing. But like when he turned around to leave, his face looked rough. I felt bad for him immediately. And then 2 more illegals go up and they're just getting like time served, $100 fine. And well, that's not what they say in the federal courtroom. They refer to them as illegals. Okay. And so they deport these 2 guys.
Wait,
then
that seems cool. Like, if I had a choice between 10 years in prison, federal prison, I'm guessing, and deporting, I'd take.
You don't have the choice.
Dude, if I commit a crime in France and I go into court and they're like, get out of here. Like, I want to be like, oh, thank God. I'll never do that again.
The 2 gentlemen who were just deported, their crime was entry.
Oh,
so yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So then there's a black gentleman. He goes up and he was possession of a firearm by a felon, and
it's probably a serious one.
It was pretty serious because of his criminal history. He had an aggravated assault in his past, and the judge was like, "Ooh, I don't like to see violence. That's no good." And there's like, there's a 6-point multiplier here for this aggravated assault, and I'm just like, "Ooh." And was there anything you'd like to say for yourself? And I thought he spoke for himself fairly well. He was like, I've been around a lot of guys recently who aren't going to get out again. They're never going home. And this is kind of this federal thing has opened my eyes that if I don't straighten up, one of these days I'm never going home. And the judge was like, oh, okay. Maximum sentence, 5 years. and so it goes on like that for like 40, maybe an hour. And so another guy goes up and this guy's like the only one there who wasn't brought in shackles. And I was like, my peer. Well, he gets up there and he's got like a history of methamphetamine abuse and he's a drug addict and he's got they found like weapons and methamphetamine and he was also a felon. And his lawyer's telling this sob story about how he is the caregiver to 4 children, and the children's mother's getting a hysterectomy, and it's just this real sob story. And the judge is like, oh, okay. 48 months. And I was like, God damn. And they're like, well, Your Honor, we request that he not be taken into custody today. And everybody else in the courtroom, the prosecutor and like whoever the assistant prosecutor, they're just like, nah, we should take him today. And so they fucking take him. They go and they get him and they handcuff him right there and they drag him out of that place. And I'm just like, this isn't going well, man. We got Judge Roy Bean up there. He's laying the hammer down on these people. You know,
what's your thought about your own situation as you're watching that unfold?
I always knew, like you know, unless like some sort of like unless something weird happened, 6 months was going to be the worst it was ever going to be, and that was going to be in the halfway house situation. So. Yeah.
Oh, it's worse. They were icing the kicker all day. Now, you got 2 months. Is that right?
Yeah, I got 2 months.
But we don't know 2 months of what.
It's almost it depends. It's 2 months of the halfway house, and the only thing that would change that is if they don't have enough beds at the halfway house. It's this weird scenario where like my lawyer's like, I mean, we could probably just talk to the parole officer, and maybe we'll just wait until there is a bed, you know, until you have to go and start serving that 2 months. But we don't really know. Like worst case scenario, I have to go to something that they described as summer camp, which you know, that's I don't know.
Sounds fun.
Not really.
I was laughing to myself earlier today, thinking about the possibility of you getting house arrest for 2 months or something, and just like them being like, now you can't leave your house. You have this anklet on for 2 months, and then like 3.5 months in, they're calling you like, we do need that bracelet back. Like, you know you can leave now, right? And you're like, yeah, I'll get around to it.
You're just doing Postmates and Rust all day.
There's a whole new season of One Punch Man out. I think maybe next week. So that's in that scenario. So yeah, I got 2 years of probation, which is the minimum amount of probation that I could have gotten. You know, he could have given me 5 years of probation. I was pretty thankful for that. The probation was the part I was most concerned about, honestly, like how many years I would have to continue to do these like drug tests and be under like the, you know, sort of have a babysitter to some extent.
My probation officer, Kyle, you've been under probation. Am I right?
Yeah. It's called pretrial. It's called pretrial probation. I've been on that for.
And what impact does it have on one's life to be under probation? There's drug tests.
Can't leave the state without permission. My parole officer calls me maybe once every 2 months or something like that, and is like, "Hey, I'm gonna stop by, see how you're doing." He stops by and we talk for a little while. He's a big fan of cooking as well, so we usually talk about YouTube.
So he goes to you every time.
Yeah. I've only had to go to them the very, very, very first time, and then I have this like local to me. There's a place that does drug treatment. I had to go through a drug treatment situation.
How many hours is that? Like a 1 day class or
no, that was every week. For what happened was I went and they immediately said you don't need drug treatment, and they said but they did offer me help for PTSD. So I went through this whole like PTSD treatment situation with them, which was very helpful. And then the lady who was doing that treatment with me, I can't remember, there's an acronym for it. It's like EDSMR or something like that. It's a bit like hypnotism, which sounds a little hokey, but it helped. And so she retired. And so I took on a new therapist / counselor, and she was like, "That's a crime?" She was like, you go to jail for pot? And I'm like, I don't think you're supposed to be saying this stuff. Yeah, that's definitely around the corner at some point. I would say definitely in the next 8 or 10 years or something like that. We'll see who wins the next election. That's absolutely pivotal, who wins the next election, about how fast it happens, because I think Sanders would do it rather quickly. But yeah, just to okay, so don't throw your vote away, people. Bernie bros, get after it. And so yeah, 2 months of this halfway house situation. Don't know when I'll have to check in. They'll call me in a month, 2 months, maybe more even, and let me know. Some menial fine, wasn't that much. Like back when it was like a level 31 fence, it was like $1 million fine. It was ridiculous.
So I didn't know what a halfway house was, so I looked it up on Wikipedia. It seems to involve a big therapy component. Do you know more than I do? Like,
I think if you're there for a long time, then it does. But I think with this federal halfway house situation, it's been described to me as a dormitory that I check into in the evenings. I sleep there, and then I leave the next day. Like I drive my car to this place, and like everybody in court today was there for drugs.
Wait, what about the firearm guy?
It was possession of a firearm
drugs
by a
and
drug
alcohol
user.
were rolled into this whole
Right.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
it was everybody was there for drugs. Every single one of them. It was mostly methamphetamine. Yeah, a lot of the times I would agree with that. Yeah, and then there's just some people who are just degenerates and they want to get fucked up. But you know, I don't judge anybody. Clearly, don't have much ground. Yeah, I'm not angry at anybody for doing drugs. I don't know what, as long as you don't like spray them on me or anything. I have these nightmares.
By the way, Kyle,
where somebody comes and rubs. I had this nightmare where someone came and rubbed a drug on my neck that was like soaks into your skin. And he was like, "Ha ha!" and he ran away. And I was just like, "I'm gonna fail my drug test now." No, and I'm just thinking of like what am I gonna do? They're never gonna believe this. They're never gonna believe a maniac ran up to me and rubbed something on my neck. They're never gonna believe that.
That's a funny PTSD.
No wonder you needed PTSD stuff. Well, like you talked about the PTSD therapy or training, whatever they call it. What can you go into what that was? Was it just talking it out, mental exercises to do?
Yeah, mental and physical exercises. I would follow her finger left and right, and while we talked through things, and I would also do this thing where I crossed my arms and sort of alternated taps left to right on my shoulders. Yeah, like that while following the finger. And she explained how it worked, how it activated, it alternated activating parts of your brain or something like that while keying in on bad memories and then like washing over them with good memories or something like that. It helps a lot. Like I said, I thought it was quite hokey when she described it, and I was just like, all right, well, they say I got to do it, so I'll do it. But by the end of it, I was like, I think this helped. I feel better. So, but yeah, I'm glad the whole thing is over. Finally, I'll do some these 2 months of at a dorm or whatever. I'll still, if that's the case, I'll still be able to do the show here. We'll just, I don't know when we'll record it. I don't know what the times will be, but I'm sure we can work around it somehow. Might have to move the upload date even. I don't know, like and have to record on weekends or something weird like that. I don't know what we'll have to do or what we want to do.
It's only a couple months. We'll get through it.
Yeah, it's just a couple months, and it'll be a couple of months most likely before that even begins. But yeah, everybody's pretty happy over here with how things went. We were surprised I got any time at all, frankly. It seemed like the judge was kind of understanding that the distribution thing was not standard distribution at all, that it was someone smoked some weed at my house a couple times, and that the he was like, how are the firearms connected to the marijuana? And she was like, well, they were everywhere. And he's like, well, I mean, we've kind of been through this. He was a manufacturer of firearms. She's like, well, they were everywhere, and there was an enormous amount of ammunition. And I was just like, well, that's all true. There were a lot of guns. But it was sort of a sticking point. It seemed like for the judge even to be like, I'm not sure how the firearms are related to any marijuana. They were just in the same room or something like that, and they sort of that was literally the connection, I guess. Yeah, they didn't have anything to do with it, and that was sort of the case that my lawyer made in court. He's like, usually when we talk about this sort of like when we add the guns to the drugs, it's because the guns are being utilized in the drug enterprise. They're being used for intimidation or to procure the drugs or to protect the drugs or something like that. That's not the case here. And I believe the judge even used the term incidental, that the guns being there was just incidental to any drugs being there.
And now that you said that, I think I can say this. I was starting to lead to it before, like silencer was a point. A short-barreled rifle was a point, if I remember right. But those were legal licensed guns, and it was weird to me that a silencer with a tax stamp on the records, everything above board was like even worse than another gun. And
yeah, that was part of like the search warrant thing. That's what kind of made things different, was because there were some issues with the initial search warrant that had I not owned legal suppressors and stuff, that maybe the whole thing could have gotten thrown out because of the way the first warrant was written. But because I did own suppressors, there's this, I can't remember the terminology, but essentially they were going to be able to get a warrant regardless. So even if their warrant was bad, the argument would be, well, we'd have gotten a good one anyway, just based on him having suppressors. So
to me, it's like they're legal.
Warrants,
legal should be legal. You can't say they're legal, but you know what? Since he does have certain things that he's paid his taxes on and he's above board with, now he's like sort of illegal. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the initial warrant said that they searched my house because I was wearing shorts. I'm not making that up.
What?
Well, were you wearing shorts?
I was, in fact, wearing
Guilty
shorts.
as charged.
They were basketball
that I'm not
shorts.
committing.
I was wearing basketball shorts.
What was the weather, though?
Very hot, about 93 degrees that day. This is the stuff that's been going through my mind and my family's mind and everybody who
Can
knows.
you expand on the shorts thing? Does it make sense if you add context?
No, it doesn't make sense when you add context.
Your Honor, we meant to convey that he sharded.
He had shots?
Yeah.
Those drugs
Yeah,
are
that's
shots,
what I was trying to think of. Like,
there were a lot of things along the way that didn't make sense, and that's part of why it's taken so long for this thing to come to its conclusion. Was that there was a lot along the way. It looked like this thing might get thrown out several times. I think that's part of why we went from state to federal, is that the state wasn't going to be able to really prosecute the case because of, I think, their search warrant, whereas the feds would be able to prosecute a case because of the guns. No, I've always liked police. I think, all of the law enforcement that I know personally, really nice guys, that I've always liked a lot. And I didn't feel like I was mistreated at any point throughout my time in the system. There was a sheriff's deputy or two who was just a kind of a jerk. But for the most part, everybody was really professional, and I thought was just doing their jobs. It's really the system that if you have any qualms with the way things work, it's the system, not the individuals.
This is great. Kyle just got fucked over for doing nothing, and Steve's like, "What do you think about the law?" You know what? I think they're spiffy. I really enjoy all policemen in the system, and I felt like I was treated fairly and kindly the whole way. Like it.
Wait, I have my answer. I think they're fun. I think that
Taylor, blink if they have something on you. Right?
I've always been very sort of progressive, socially speaking, whether it came to marijuana or gay rights or whatever, anything like that. Really, socially speaking, I'm rather progressive. I kind of, if anything, I feel like I'm more of a sort of a quasi libertarian or anything. I always say that. Not only do I believe in abortion, I believe you should be able to use a gun to do it.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah. So like, yeah.
Another death from the new and terrifying bullet method.
Wouldn't that cause 2 deaths?
Yeah,
You're gonna need special baby killing guns.
Now it was a resounding success. Until the bullet reached the mother's brain.
So politically speaking, I'm kind of across the board there. Obviously, I like the guns. Obviously, I like the marijuana, but at the same time, there's not really a candidate that's on board with all that. Bernie Sanders is honestly the closest one to it, and he's a socialist, so it's not like I can vote anyway. So hey. My lawyer explained that to me like from day one. He's like, these people are in the business, and it is a business of locking people up. It's a machine that puts people in jail, and so you kind of have to treat it that way. I don't like it. I didn't enjoy my time going through it or anything like that. But at the same time, I guess I see the necessity for some parts of it. The same things that we're sort of deriding here and saying, oh, that's BS. I don't like that they did that to you. I don't like that they did this to you. Maybe there's a child molester out there or some guy running a pedophile ring, and you're like, oh, they charged him for possession of child pornography under 8 and possession of child pornography under 12 years old. Good. They doubled up on him. Well, I don't know what to say. I haven't quite finished my stay with the state or yet. But yeah, I didn't enjoy my time throughout the whole thing at all. But at the same time, I didn't feel like. Again, I felt like everybody was professional and that I wasn't really mistreated and I wasn't sort of. It felt like they were trying to make an example out of me at times, for sure. But I don't know. It worked out in the end. And, I'm sure you could find a whole lot of people who it would fit right in there nicely. There was about 8 or 9 of them there today. And I couldn't be a judge. I'd be the most lenient judge ever. Like these people had sob stories, Like the one girl cried. One girl cried. He gave her 2 years.
Was she also drug related? Because
this was her third methamphetamine offense. Her 3 children are there sitting in front of me. Her mother's sitting in front
of me.
Probably
just a little meth, though, right? Not a whole diesel truck.
5.8 ounces. He was crying tears of solid crystalline. Yeah,
is that a lot of meth? 5 ounces sounds like a lot of meth.
It's a lot of meth. Yeah,
not 12,000 gallons though.
No, those guys. That was like when my lawyer heard that, he went. He looked at me. He went. He's going away.
He couldn't just take 10 less pounds for the memes.
That's a lot. That's a lot. That's like that's a whole lot.
That might be a box truck.
400 and like when I
not quite a box truck, more
hedges.
like the back of a pickup truck, maybe though. 400 pounds, the bottom of the bed. It's a lot.
Imagine trying to fill trash bags with leaves until it hits 430 pounds.
How much pot did Bill Murray get caught with back in the day? Let me see what his charge was, because it was not a small amount. Bill Murray.
It's so insane that you can still get in trouble for pot.
Bill Murray had 10 pounds of marijuana at the airport.
At the airport?
Yeah, he was trying to fly with it. He was trying to fly with 10 pounds of marijuana.
This is probably like in the 80s, right?
The year was 1970.
1970.
Yeah. How he got caught? This is hilarious. He made the mistake of telling one of his fellow passengers that he, quote, was carrying 2 bombs in his suitcase. fucking tested some improv out on the fucking. I got 2 bombs in here. Like, you don't say that if you've got 10 pounds of marijuana. Tim Allen got caught with an enormous amount of cocaine.
That's pretty cool. And then just like a,
cool guy of the week.
15 years, he may very well be cool guy of the week.
Yeah.
But then just 15 years later, he's doing Home Improvement.
Toy Story 4 coming soon. Everybody hyped? Well, I've been doing it. I've been getting very good at video games.
Oh, see?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about PUBG. Like this is completely taking a left turn, and Steve probably has no idea what PUBG even is, but
I do not.
Huge update to PUBG. Just lots of stuff's coming soon. It's a video game that I like to play, so real excited about that. First person shooter. 100 people drop. It's a battle royale. 100 people drop onto an island. They quickly loot and find guns, armor, weapons. They fight until there's only one man left. Play on PC. I got into PC gaming late in life. A lot of the guys who are really good at it seems like they've been playing since early childhood. Like their dads had set up LAN centers in their basements and shit like that. But I really enjoyed it a lot. I think I'm going to go back and play some more Sea of Thieves, that pirate game that I was playing a couple years ago that I shit all over and talked about how bad it is. Apparently in the last 2 years, they've improved it a ton. I've been watching Summit play that on Twitch a lot, and he's just hilarious at it. He boards enemy ships, stows away, waits until they collect all this treasure that's really difficult to acquire treasure, and he's like literally hiding on the boat, and he's like talking to his friends who are following in their ship just out of sight, like over the horizon, and at the perfect moment he springs his attack and like sinks their ship with explosives and takes all of their loot, and his friends show up just at the perfect time, and they just take all the things from these children, and it's hilarious. It's real. It's like piracy. It's and like a lot of the times you can hear the enemies like discussing what they're doing, and talking about what they're doing. And there's like this, it's a pirate ship. So like there's this map on the pirate ship, and he can go over and look at the map, and he can determine what mission or quest they're out on. And there are some quests that like you only get once, or you have to earn the right to do. And they're very, very profitable. Like it might be many, many hours of someone's time that they're only allowed to attempt once. And he'll wait till like they finish it. They just finished all of their work, and they've got these 3 glowing green chests of gold sitting on the floor. And the whole time he's been literally laying down under a table or behind a chair, and he just springs into action and like blows up their ship and steals all their things. It's a lot of fun to watch. So we're gonna play some more of that.
That sounds kind of awesome.
Yeah, it's a pirate game. It's called Sea of Thieves. It's on Xbox, but and that's the other thing that's interesting. There's a big skill gap. With a mouse and keyboard, you can be very precise with aiming, and you can do a lot of things that you can't do with an Xbox controller. And this is a cross-platform game, so the PC guys are beating up on the Xbox guys. It's a lot of fun to do. But yeah, I haven't acquired any new talents or anything other than patience.
Which is a good one.
Yeah, I'm very patient. Just sitting around and waiting on all this to be over for the last 2 years.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
How big is the relief? Like when you heard 2 months, were you
I was pretty psyched.
Inside? Were you?
Yeah, I was pretty happy. I went in prepared to get the full 6 months or whatever potentially. Like I sort of mentally prepared myself for that, and but also knowing that it could be 0, but also knowing that maybe they throw some curveball and they try to like railroad me or something like that. You never know. So yeah, it can. I'm about to sue someone myself. I've been waiting for this whole thing to wrap up. I can't talk about it for obvious reasons, but we've been. Yeah, that's right, Steve. Me. I've had enough of your defamation of my character. And we'll be suing you in the state of California. It's gonna be rough. So someone we're gonna sue someone who didn't do a good job at something they were supposed to do. And
don't give too many details.
Of course not.
I know. I'm joking.
Yeah, I'm the tight-lipped one. I ain't gonna spill any details about this pending lawsuit. But that'll be good because I'll probably profit quite considerably from that.
Well,
I will host. I don't care if I got to fucking satellite phone in. No, Wings is not a co-host.
I would love it if you could bring your computer to the halfway house and just have...
I don't think...
Do you remember when Wings of Redemption had a random cast of characters behind him? Here's Crazy Joe. He's living with me this week, but he stole all my Coca-Cola. I'm not sure it's going to work out. Right? Like, that random guy... Remember the guy came by, was just dressed in a Confederate like soldier's uniform for some reason?
I thought that was a Marine Corps uniform
no,
or something like that. There was a Civil War reenactor in the background.
I think there was a Civil War reenactor behind him, and like people would just show up, and they'd have like random guests with no mics screaming across the room. And yes.
I have wanted a whack pack for so long.
He has, but you're going to go to a halfway house. There could very well be whack pack material there.
There probably will be. I will see if maybe I don't want to bring those people necessarily back to my home. But
they live there, Kyle.
I mean,
they live there too.
You're on a nice luck streak, so like, I say go for it.
Yeah,
so let's roll the dice.
Keep
Andre, bring the amigos. We're going back to Mikasa.
But see, I don't know what a halfway house is like. Apparently, I picture something like a hotel where there's a hallway with lots of doors on either side, and everyone retreats to their own room.
I have no idea. Yeah, I may have a roommate. I may be like a Full Metal Jacket scenario where it's just a big room full of beds. I don't know. But again, 2 months, it'll be. I'm interested in it'll be good stories. I'll come on here and I'll be able to tell you guys what's going on at the halfway house. I'm sure I'm going to meet a lot of interesting people there.
That's where they go.
Sure.
That's where they go.
They're all going to be drug offenders based on
what are you in here
sample
for?
Size.
I was too interesting for the outside world. Excellent. It's going to be a lot of that. But looking forward to paying my debt to society and moving on.
So, on Wikipedia, it kind of looks like a church. I'm having a hard time resizing.
There's one quarters.
Let me read this to people. It's not long. A halfway house is an institution that allows people with physical, mental, and emotional disabilities, or those with criminal backgrounds, to learn the necessary skills to reintegrate into society and better support and care for themselves. And then it goes on to talk about how a big component of halfway houses seems to be a therapy.
I don't think
that's all I know.
Wikipedia.
Here.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a different thing, but I don't even know. Like I said, I may.
And you know which one already?
No. And again,
you don't.
Yeah, we don't even know if they'll be able to find a bed for me. So like, there's a whole like, we'll see what happens next type scenario going on right now.
I'm crossing my fingers that 2 months goes by. They don't find a bed, but they figure that's, it has been 2 months. and your time is served.
That well, I mean, I think the lawyer said that like he's like, you got 2 months, you won't do 2 months, and I was like, really? Well, all right, just so like I have no idea. He just explained that the system is so crammed full and overcrowded. He's like, if you went to prison, well, they could take you today. They always got room in prison, but not in the halfway house.
If you aspire to be cool guy of the week, I would love to see a Tinder date back to the halfway house, right? That takes a certain level of...
I know for a fact that's not allowed.
But if you could pull that off, it'd be so legendary, right? Like it's hard to get a Tinder date when you live at your parents' house, but if you could do it from a halfway house, I feel like that shows a level of charm that's rarely seen.
Yeah,
This is also a quick read. New patients are admitted in individual rooms, providing one-to-one services and programming. As they become more independent, the dorms become bigger so that by the time the patient leaves, they're living in 50 to 100 person dorms. According to Wikipedia, I'm just going by.
Yeah, but the thing is, I'm going to be staying for such a short period of time.
Uh-huh.
Like it's gonna things are going to be different.
You.
Yeah, I would imagine that I'm going to be in a Full Metal Jacket scenario, hopefully without the soap beatings, and just sort of a big open room with like a dozen beds in it. So the way it works, and I think I've explained it on the show before, but any federal sentence, like if they let Timothy McVeigh go, they killed him though. Yeah, that's not a good example. The last 6 months of any sentence, whether it's rape or kidnapping or whatever, you spend in a halfway house. It's
makes no sense.
It makes perfect sense for like if you've watched Shawshank Redemption. It just doesn't fit Kyle.
Right.
Exactly. Like if there's a transition, like if you do 5 years, it's like, all right, well let's give him 4.5 years, and in the last 6 months, we're gonna transition him, ease him into the real world. He doesn't even know the new emojis.
Yeah,
he doesn't know the new emojis.
This guy doesn't know shit about eggplants.
He hasn't gotten onto the crypto scene yet. We gotta reintegrate this guy.
Dick, I hate Dick.
Yeah,
that's not any better.
I like eggplant.
I do too, but I still like Taylor's joke.
The main course.
Yes, eggplant parmesan. It's delicious. That's
good.
It is the lowest tier,
leaking over into because then the eggplant is merely a vessel, a parmesan ship into your mouth.
Yeah, it is the lowest tier of the parmesans. My favorite being chicken parmesan, which I'm amazing at. But veal parmesan is also great. Yeah, we're gonna have a little party tomorrow night to celebrate my the end of my legal situation. We killed a fatted calf. So we sacrificed him to Baal, and
nice.
Yeah. Are you insane? Are you insane? Strike two.
I'll tell you, I thought of 4 jokes like that and said none of them. I was like,
there will be
guards outside keeping even if a skunk wanders too close, shoot it.
It's funny you mention
that smell.
I was at a gas station like 8 months back. I get out to pump the gas, and I needed gasoline. This wasn't just a routine gasoline trip. I was like, shit, I'm glad I made it. And I went, is that pot? Yep. Nope. I hung it back up and left. Up and left. Yeah. I was like, no, can't.
There you go.
It's not just about the relationship.
A free man.
I censor myself on this topic because, like, I don't know. What if I make a joke that the wrong person listens to or takes the wrong way or doesn't get the context? We just made fun of my heart attack friend. They might not understand that. Kind of funny.
Yeah. But it'll be a very wholesome, family friendly party with some family and friends. Obviously parents have been pretty.
The only substance being consumed there, alcohol, legal. Keep with the Lord.
I'm not. No.
Balls.
So yeah, I'm gonna have a good time tomorrow night. I went and got some steak.
I'm really happy for you, man.
Yeah. I'm pretty happy myself. I'm just glad it's over. It's just taken so long to do. Just so long to get it over with.
And hanging over your head like a guillotine for years. I can't imagine the stress. Like that was.
It was more frustrating than anything. It was like because there were several times along the way where it seemed like today's the last day. Today. We'll sort this out today. There were a couple of times where that happened. January, not this past January, the January before that was supposed to happen. Today's the last day. We'll go in. They'll say this and we'll say that. and we'll agree to this thing in the middle. Probation, state probation, no big deal. And then it was like, we'll come back in March and we'll be all done. And we come back in March and it's like, well, might be another year.
You know who you should have got as your attorney? That
Johnny Cochran, but
No.
he's
Cliff
dead.
Hutchinson.
the dude
Overqualified
that
and unavailable.
flips
Blah,
cars
blah, blah.
that was on the show. What was his name?
Vin Wiki.
Vin Wiki. We'll meet in the middle one day at a halfway house.
Yeah, not much negotiation. You know, I did get to speak before the court. You know, I quite a bit.
This
my
time
lawyers-
too?
Yeah, every time. You know, no panic attack this time. That was good. I didn't pass out or anything.
I wonder.
Did you do that? Did you do that in the past?
Maybe that
Yeah.
would be a good look. I don't
Wow.
know.
Yeah, I have panic attacks. Yeah, I don't know if it'd be a good look or not. No, of course not.
Yeah.
That's what they were for.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't feel like we butt
I bet
heads.
you're
Most of the
gonna
time, I'm
meet-
just playing devil.
And they got that. Okay. I'll just go with me.
Yeah, I would never voluntarily butt heads with you. First of all, death sentence right away.
Absolutely. I would
Yeah.
just.
Well, either. Oh my
It,
god.
it goes without mentioning. I am a titan of headbutts.
I would love to see that like face off. Like that would be like
Taylor
an
against a
anime battle.
ram.
Headbutts only. Yeah.
An immovable object versus an unstoppable force.
Taylor
Yeah,
and
most
a
of the time I'm just
bull.
playing devil's advocate, and I like to argue
I
the other
know.
side, no matter how
Yeah.
I
poorly.
bet you're gonna meet some cool cats in that halfway house.
I doubt it.
I'm
I'm
just
sure I'll
trying
meet
to be
some
positive.
interesting. I'm sure
Taylor.
I'll meet some interesting people, like that little stint I did in jail. You know, for those 3 or 4 days. Really interesting people in there.
It was the whole journey.
We had a show that night. If only you could have brought your gear, we'd have done a collaborative episode.
To jail.
Mhm.
My gear to jail. Bracelets that had like your jail. What was it? Your jail number, whatever the fuck. And you go over to the phone and you put your jail number in, and you can just use the phone. I think the phone was free, but you also used that jail number to like.
Was it an
access your-
inmate number or?
Yeah, something like
Okay.
that. But you're in jail, so you're not. I think it's the wrong terminology.
Okay.
We're in the South. They called it a jail number. Yeah, my jail number was smudged and didn't work. Not even kidding. I was just like, who do I talk to about getting a new jail number? But the jail number in your cot. All right.
Yeah.
So, what were the living arrangements like in jail? Did you have a room to yourself?
Oh no.
Go on.
Oh no. It is a large, open, cavernous room with 2 levels, where you go up some steps and there's,
Ooh, a
there's another
duplex.
landing. Duplex, and little alcoves, if you can imagine that. Like everything, it's concrete block construction. So 4 cots, bottoms and top bunks, are in each alcove, and then there's room in between to like put your cubby. Everybody's got like a plastic tote with all their shit in it. Everybody gets like a towel, a washcloth, some toothpaste, that basic shit.
Floor plan, and you go in there, and some people you're close to, and some people are down the way, but you can see across the sea of bunks.
It's a weirdly shaped
Wow,
room. It's
this
very
guy's
it's
a
very
twink
tall.
versatile.
This,
it's a twink.
this is like the work environment at Cisco, except it's bunks instead of cubes.
Yeah,
you know?
cubicles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
desks.
And you don't even get paid to be there.
There's a couple tables as soon as you
And
walk. The window was so barred up and like gross that you couldn't see the outside world. But we had cable TV, which was great because the North Korean missile crisis was going on. So like everybody in there was glued to that.
Was it? How many nights
And-
did you stay?
3 maybe, something
Okay.
like that. I slept the whole time. Got real rested up. Lost like 15 pounds. It was a good stay. The whole time I was there, I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't shit the
But
whole time I was
hypothetically, you
there.
would have had to.
Curtain. You got like
Okay.
there's like some privacy. Actually no. There were stalls. There were like 2 or 3 stalls with toilets in them. And there was like a shower with like one person could get in at a time with a shower. Maybe 2 showers with shower. Yeah.
A top and a bottom.
Yeah, I don't think nobody was really interested in joining anybody in there. Everybody,
They
there were a
were
bunch
cool guys.
for me, it was the first day, but for some of them, they'd been in there for. So look, you get arrested, and as long as you didn't like do something crazy, they'll give you bond. and the way bond works, you often hear it on the news, like, oh, $50,000 bond, and you're probably like, who has $50,000 lying around? Maybe not everybody. You know? Bail bondsman, you pay like 10%. Is all you have to come up with, and he foots the rest of the bill. And you can do property bonds, and sometimes it's just a signature bond. You're basically signing and saying, hey, if I run away, you can sell my car. That sort of thing.
But if you have 50 grand, you could just give them 50 grand, then they give it back to you when you go to court, right?
Oh yeah. Exactly.
But for people, and that's what bounty hunters do. They people put up 50 grand. You only put 5 in. They're making sure you go to court. They're forcing you to go to court so they can get that 50 back. That's their business model.
Absolutely. They're on the hook for that. They come and get your ass. Yeah, for sure. Or they at least attempt to. And so there was this one guy in there who'd been denied bond because he had fled the last time they gave him bond. And he was a real numbskull. This guy was maybe 23, 24 years old. His teeth were rotted out of his fucking head from methamphetamine. And he was like, they won't give me bond. They know better. He's like proud of it. He's like, they know better. Last time they caught me, I was almost to Boston, Massachusetts. If you can make it to Boston, they can't bring you back. And
that's what he's about to explain.
Right? If we were in the free world, or if he were on this, or if you said that shit to me, I'd be like, dumbass. Yeah. Unless you go to a country without extradition treaties with us, they'll just drag your ass back.
Dude, I'm tired of all these fucking criminals ruining the city because of the no extradition thing. It's a major oversight.
But we're in jail. We're in jail, so I'm just like, really? Interesting. Yeah, like I almost made it last time. They best or not turn me loose again, or I'll gone. I was like, when's your court date? Oh shit, 4 more months. I was like, how long have you been in here? He's like, a month and a half. 4 more to go. And I'm like, you could have been at home with your mother.
Yeah.
And instead you're in here trading fucking boiled eggs for
pathetically being in prison. I daydream about this and wonder how it would work out. I don't know if other people do that too. But it's like, I would handle a guy like that, right? 9 times out of 10. 9 times out of 10, I'd bite my lip or bite my tongue, whatever it is, and just not say, right? Like I wouldn't explain what an extradition treaty is and how stupid he is. But 1 time out of 10, I might. And I don't know that I could do 15 years with that kind of problem. It's with me, though. Steve, come on.
I was tell this last time I talked about this, but I was so tight with the black guys, I used the N-word. They were cool. Yeah.
I tried that 3 weeks ago. Not good.
Yeah.
And there was no R.
And now just
you could have been the token white guy in the black guy gang in prison.
You could have been a Crip.
And then you would have had even better stories when you got out.
We were talking about music. We were talking about music, and I was like, I really like Jay-Z. We were talking about rappers. I like Jay-Z. He's like, what's your favorite track? And I was like, well,
all of them. They're all so good.
It's hard to narrow it down.
And I was like, I'm trying not to say it. And he's like, well, how does it go? And I'm like, well, and it's that one song. Let me just find the title.
I'm making it easier. 99 Problems. I think he sang that, and that's probably
the one I like is.
He's like, here's 100th.
Yeah.
Let me find the actual title. It's called The Story of OJ. Now, I'm just going to copy paste in like one line of the lyrics, all right? Just so you guys are getting a sense for what this song is like. It's called The Story of OJ.
Oh, no, you can't sing that in prison.
I sang that in jail.
You sang this in jail. I'm about to show it to everyone.
I mean, if you feel like comfortable with that.
We're not going to say it.
Well, I don't know if you should show it. He asked me. I mean, I probably shouldn't have said it in jail, but he asked me.
All right,
and,
I'm about to wrap it.
I told him.
Light N-bomb, dark N-bomb, faux N-bomb, real N-bomb, rich N-bomb, poor N-bomb, house N-bomb, field N-bomb.
And so I'm just sort of like singing this for this gentleman. He's like, oh yeah, that's just tight. And I was like, oh man.
Do you know?
So like,
You could have taken someone safe. I'm a big Bruno Mars fan.
Yeah.
so the
No.
nature is like immediately we had to identify who the other was. I felt like that was important for me. It's important that I'm not the other. There is some socioeconomic disparity in this jail that I'm in right now, and I could potentially be seen as the other, and that's no good. But I found a child molester, and we made him the other. And they were just like, you know what he's in here for? And I was like, what? What's that motherfucker in here? I've heard of him. Let's get him.
I'm glad we're hanging out with you, just a normal ass child molester. And you have to pretend to not be the YouTube guy. Oh, that's
hell yeah. And so I was like, what? He's like, he got caught with an 8-year-old girl with her pants down. And I was like, fuck. He's like, yeah, I don't like that shit. And I was like, I don't like that shit neither. My like as we go, my voice is completely changing. I'm no
You're
longer
code switching. Yeah,
I'm prison cow. Yes, and by the end of it, I'm gonna be honest. I had made some friends in there, and I was like, I was like, hey, do you need some money in your commissary? Like, yeah, I could really use a little. I'm gonna be in here. All right, I'm hooking people up. I'm putting money in everybody's commissary.
That could be a mistake according to the YouTube channels I watch.
But he was leaving.
Even let them know that you
have extra
that
money.
kind of capability to do that.
Yeah. Well, in this scenario, again, it was jail. Everybody was in there for light offenses. I knew a lot of these people. Like, I don't run with a rough crowd, but I know a lot of people. And
I imagine you getting so comfortable with them that by the end you're like, all right, see you guys. Actually, can I sing the song one more time?
Yeah, I literally recognized 1, 2, 3 people in there. I knew 3 of the guys that were in there with me, to different extents. One guy I played Little League Baseball with. One guy was the boyfriend of my friend's sister, if that makes sense. Like I'd seen him around. I'd hung out with him a little bit before, maybe 2 or 3 times. I knew him to speak to him and everything. He was pretty cool. And the guy that I was singing to, he was the biggest guy in there. And he and I became pretty good friends. I like that guy. Like they were all in there for like nonsense. Not all of them. There was the child molester.
You had you spoke today in court.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what you said, or is that not a good topic?
I said that this is the stupidest thing I've ever done. This was I explained the hardships that this has sort of put on me and the stresses and how it's affected my family and my friends and how they're stressed. And I explained why they weren't there today. I asked everybody. I didn't want anyone to come. A lot of people wanted to come, and I told them I didn't want them there. And went sort of explained how this whole process has affected me, and showed some
remorse
for sort of what I'd done, and that I definitely regret what I did, and explained what the future was going to be, that I wanted to get this over with and move on to the future, and that I accept whatever ruling that you give me, but just so you know, I feel like I've been punished quite a bit already. So it's something along those lines, I guess. And again, didn't pass out this time. That was swell. Held it together well enough.
Good for you.
I wonder what impact, because if I'm a judge and the guy passes out, I'm like,
I don't give a shit.
Well, we cannot be sending him to prison.
They don't give a shit. I passed out last time. They're like, they just got me a chair. They don't fucking care.
Okay. Well, you'd like it better if I was your judge. I'd be like, he's just a sweetie. He's not built for this.
Yeah, I passed out back in 2008 too, when in court that time. They had to drag me out of the courtroom that time. They had to grab me by my belt and drag me out for that charge. That was a concealed weapons charge that I was acquitted for, by the way. I was arrested even though I had my concealed carry permit for having a concealed weapon.
So you carried a concealed weapon while being a concealed permit holder?
Yeah.
Devil you.
If that had happened a few years later, there would have been quite the lawsuit. That was a absolutely false arrest. That was a nonsense situation, and that I was acquitted for.
Why?
But yeah, I defended myself in court on that one. I didn't hire an attorney because I thought it was such an open and shut thing, and plus I was 21 years old, and I didn't want to tell my parents that I was in trouble. So I just defended myself, and I not to brag, but this is kind of like that thing I do with the doctor where I diagnose myself online and then go, I did enough online research to effectively get Scott and I out of prison. but because the judge didn't know the law. He was like, well, this was carrying at a public gathering. And I was like, Walmart is not a public gathering. He's like, yes, it is. And I'm like, according to the Georgia Attorney General. And like if I hadn't brought that paperwork, I think they'd have railroaded us back in fucking 2008. You know, it was
Oh, wrong.
Well,
page,
let me take
wrong
a look,
page. Sorry.
pervert. Just give me the meds.
According to the wait, wrong pamphlet.
But yeah, we probably talk about something different now. I think
I have a
all the
topic.
bases.
Oh, do we have
Yeah,
an
yeah,
ad
sure.
maybe before the topic?
Yeah,
Let's hit